What's up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we got another special edition of Keeping It Plus Ultra with Blerd Without Fear. And today, I have a very special guest by the name of Nandor Fox Shaffer, someone who you may recognize if you're familiar with comics like Seasons or Lifeline. He has a very amazing and very interesting comic coming out very soon. It's actually on Kickstarter right now, currently, as of this recording, called Manchild. And we're going to be talking about Nandor's work. We're going to be talking about Manchild. We're going to be talking about a lot of other things kind of surrounding that narrative. And, there's a lot of, other, interesting bits and conversations going to be going on in this episode. More importantly, because, we are going to be kind of bouncing around a lot in this conversation, I do want to make sure you guys know that if you're interested in the Manchild Kickstarter, there will be a link in the description, whether you're listening to this in podcast format or watching the video version of this. There will be a link below in the description to that, and as well as any other pertinent links if you want to follow Nandor. Also, once again, if you're listening to this in podcast format, because of course we're on Apple, Spotify, Google, pretty much everywhere you can find a podcast, make sure to leave a rating or review depending on which platform you're listening to. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to catch us in podcast format, once again, you can catch us on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever. Anyways, without further ado, it's time to keep it plus ultra with the Blerd Without Fear.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Welcome to another round of Keeping It Plus Ultra with Blerd Without Fear. I have a very special guest with me today. Who some of you may recognize from works like Seasons, and also you had another one that I did not know you had done. I actually just discovered it the other day, actually, called Lifeline, that I'm actually going to be eyeballing here pretty soon.
Sweet.
But everybody, welcome special guest Nandor Fox Shaffer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good, man. I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun. I can't wait to talk with you and just hang out and have a good time. And thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh, anytime. Like I said, it was it's really weird how you I guess, especially now with everything that's going on. We had we got global pandemic, which is just crazy to think about in this day and age. Sounds like something you'd only hear about in the dark ages. Something only happened in medieval times, but it's happening here now. But no, just people who are kind of in your orbit, and you kind of float through some of the same circles, just oh wait, yeah, no, I've never gotten to speak with this person before. Yeah, let's sit down, let's talk. So it's all these opportunities are just kind of coming together. And I thought, I was dude, yeah, of course. I was I'll sit down and chit chat. Yeah, why not?
Totally.
But I guess just to get everybody warmed up and familiar, I guess, can you give us the origin story of Nandor? How did you get into this game here? How what got you into this game?
Man. So I started writing actually blogs when I was around 13 years old. And I started writing blogs on the internet. I would write on GameInformer.com, and I had my own comic book of the month awards that I would do, where I would take all my monthly titles and I would rank them and pick the best cover, the best artist, and I would post those on the internet. And I really liked talking about video games and comics and things that I loved, and sharing my perspective on things. But after a few years of doing that, I started to think about, I knew I had a proclivity to enjoy writing and an enjoyment of the written word, and I read a ton. I just read all the time, and I don't think there's a day where I'm not reading a graphic novel, a comic, or a novel or something. I just really love it. And so at some point I finished high school, and I was going into my first year of college, and I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I got tired of writing about other people's stuff. I wanted to write my own stuff, and that's really where it came about, where I was like, man, I want to have people write about my stuff, like I want people to be excited about what I'm creating, what I'm making, because I get so excited about other people's work. And so I kind of wanted to change it up for myself. And the idea of writing stories just really dawned upon me. Okay, how, like, what would I do, and how could I do it? And I was thinking about what I wanted to do, like what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want my career to be? And going into college, that's what I was thinking about. And so I did a year where my major was in creative writing, but then I got the idea for seasons shortly before I started college, and while I was going through it in that first year. And so then I thought, oh man, I just want to do this. I just want to make comics. I don't want to go to college anymore. I was like, I know what I want to do. And that's really how everything began. And I stopped. I was like, I'm going to postpone going to school, because I was working a job and I was saving up money, because I knew that for me to get into this industry, if I were to break in somehow, I need to make my own books first. And I got, I searched out advice, and I looked at how other creators got started and how other writers got started, because it's really different being a comic book writer and getting your name out there compared to an artist, because you can really show off your talent with art sort of easily in that way, because people can see it and they can either love it or hate it right away. But when it comes to being a writer, they have to actually take time to read your story. So it's a lot different when it comes to that, and especially on the internet and all that stuff, because you can share your art out all the time on social media and people can see it, but it's a lot harder to get people to sit down and read your stuff. So I was dealing with that, and I knew I had to save up money to work with an artist and to work with this idea that I had, that I wanted to make comics. And I knew that before I even started talking to editors at different companies or whatever, I needed to have some books like under my belt that I could show them that, hey, I'm serious about this, I can do this, and I really am passionate about it. So I stopped going to college. I started working on seasons. We started my artist and I putting up as a webcomic for free for people to read on our own website. And yeah, I'm on my 4th book now. So it's been about 4 or 5 years of writing comics and trying to break in and get people to see my work and see how that goes. But I have learned so much during all this time. And what's really cool too, and I've had 3 books so far that are done, but they're graphic novels too, so they're like 100 pages. So if some people, like, sometimes I think, man, I've only come out with 3 books, but then I look at it and I'm like, well, these are like 300 pages of content and a story, and it's a lot of work. And I see so many people that put out a couple books a year, but they're usually like single issues or something. But for me, I've been really messing around with the graphic novel format a lot more.
Yeah, I was to say, it's one of the things that I find really interesting, just in talking to a lot of different people who are in the comics industry, and also putting together their own works and putting it out there, creating these original stories, just kind of doing their own thing. One of the 2 of the things I always find that come up the most with that is that, for one, of course, you kind of you're shooting your shot. You're kind of putting the good energy out into the ether and just saying, hey, this is the thing I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna I'm gonna put my all into it, and also like taking chances, because that's like a scary thing, I think, for a lot of people like you, because anytime I talk to someone that has like a dream of any kind, they're always like, man, I want to do this, but if I do this, I might have to quit my job, or I might have to quit school, or I might have to, like, you have to quit doing something that, like, is kind of like your, I guess, like your security, blanket, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, it's the thing that's making you feel like, okay, I have some semblance of order, in my life.
Totally.
It's
how you structure your, it's how you structure your whole day, you have to do that thing, and then, you have to work, and then you can play. And it's like, wait, can you actually make a living out of playing,
right.
out of like just playing and doing something that you enjoy? And I totally get that. I still work a day job while I'm writing and while I'm doing this, because for one thing, I need funds to be able to pay my artists and work with artists and get my advertising and get my name out there. So there's that, but also it's a way to keep yourself a little more, so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And some people can work better that way. They can just go all in. But for me, it was one of those things where I have to keep some structure, but also I can't have that, take away my sanity, by just like giving myself to, something I don't want to be doing, for the rest of my life. So there's totally that balance you have to work with. And it's honestly one of the hardest things you could ever do. And it a lot of people do still look at me when I tell them what I'm doing. They expect me to be in college, or they expect me to have finished my degree in something. And I'm just like, my degree is like these books, like this is what I've been working on. Like this is like, all you got to look at is this, and that's what I really love. And I didn't want to wait 4 years and then be told, well, you have to pay all this, debt off, or you have to get this job that you went to school for, and then you can do what you really want to do. It's like, I just wanted to go for it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think that's like just the notion of taking that chance, shooting that shot is like something I always admire. Because not a lot of people are willing to do that. Even if they have a dream to do something, they have a dream to go this one direction. It's what I tell people all the time, is that you got to at least take a shot. You got to at least try, because even if, whether you succeed or whether you fail, that part doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, hardly anyone ever actually tries. If it were easy, completely, everybody would do it. It's like, even for what I do, like, I always tell people, like, if it was easy, dude, everybody and their grandma would be doing it. It's not easy. Like, it's thankless work, and it's I do it because I have fun doing what I do, but yeah, a lot of people won't take that chance to go out there and do the thing. And like I said, I find that incredibly inspiring, just because being creative and putting that out there.
Right. And there are a lot of people that I've ran into that are around my age, that have just finished their degree, or they're classmates I was going to school with in college, and they were like actually really excited for me, because they were like, oh man, you actually know what you want to do, because there's so many people that are like, I have no idea what I want to do, like, and I kept telling them, like, yeah, this is what I really want to do, like, I know I'm good for this, and I'm disciplined enough to where I can at least take a shot and see what happens. And that was one of the best things, where people would look at me and they would be really supportive and really want me to succeed. And that's been really awesome. And I think a lot of that really is the first step, is, what you have to look at yourself and go, what do I actually want to do? What do I want to see myself doing in 5 to 10 years, or what does my life look like?
Like, one of the, speaking of like life, where you and where you ultimately wind up going with it. One of the things that you have going on right now that I find incredibly interesting, just because of the dynamic of the storytelling that you're doing with it, is you actually have a new comic that is on the way. Which is called Manchild. Could you what's the pitch there? What's the pitch with it?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. Manchild is where the dreamer meets the dream. It's where reality meets fantasy. It is a exploration of comic book fandom and being a nerd, being someone who is completely drenched in superheroes and storytelling of sequential arts and loving all of that, and how that really can invade your life in such a way that it changes it. And what's so cool about Manchild, and it's right in the name there, man and child, is that contrast of growing up and taking all these things that have really shaped you. If you've really been inspired by certain characters or heroes or movies, and you grow up with all these things and asking yourself, do I leave these things behind, because it's weird to like these things, or is it cool that I wear my Captain America shirt out in public? Are people going to think that I'm still this kid that never really grew up? And it's taking that word and I like to say putting it on trial and actually looking at it and going, that juxtaposition of being an adult and being young at heart. It's really interesting because people will say, be young at heart, but then, don't be a man child. It's like, now wait a second here.
You gotta grow up.
Yeah. There's that. And that is really represented in how the story is told, as it's two stories simultaneously being told at the same time, one in a Silver Age superhero universe and the other in modern day, where you follow this comic book fan and his friends as they hang out at the comic book shop and as they go see the new blockbuster superhero movie. And it's looking at the trajectory of the medium from really its renaissance in the 60s and 70s with the Lee, Kirby, and Ditko era of comics, and how much comics have become accepted over the years, but also looking at how it's still not necessarily where it should be in terms of being seen as, art in the highest of ways, and something Stan Lee would say, he would look at the book set he'd make and what was happening at that time, and he would look at comics and go, if Shakespeare wrote a comic, everyone would be all over it. And Shakespeare was one of his biggest influences, but it was just the fact that no one at the time was really looking at comics when he was starting to make them and seeing them as anything more than children's things. And I found that to be really fascinating, because if you try to put yourself in Stan Lee's shoes at that time, you can only imagine the imposter syndrome or the insecurity that he was going through in going, because he wanted to write the great American novel and do novels and screenplays and stuff. So it's really interesting how he got stuck in this sense of imagination and wonder. And now, he's known for being one of the greatest, creators of the American history, or when it comes to American pop culture, and really that's where the story of the idea of Manchild started. It started looking at Stan Lee's life, and after he passed, I was really devastated by it, and I was actually really kind of distraught by it, because I always thought, he would always be there. You always think your heroes or people that you admire, are always going to be there. And it's one of those things that made me go, man, I really want to give back to the spirit of what he gave to me. And that was all these characters that I've grown up with and that I've admired for so long, and that have made me a better person. You know, that reading comics as a kid teaches you morals, and it teaches you how to treat other people, and it teaches you how to be a better version of yourself, because you want to, you look at Superman, or you look at Captain America, you look at these characters, and they are the best versions of what humanity, you know, could strive to be. And I find that really just captivating in so many ways.
Oh yeah, it's such a wild thing to think about, the fact that Stan Lee was a guy who basically transcended being a person. Like, he wasn't just like I mean, yeah, he's a dude. I mean, he's a dude like anybody else, but but at the same time, it's like when you say the name Stan Lee, like I always say, like, he was kind of like he was basically the icon of an entire corner of creativity, where, like, it's kind of like, oh, well, even if you don't know anything about rock and roll, you probably at least know who the Rolling Stones are. You at least know the name. You know, if you don't know anything about country music, you know, you at the very least, you know, you probably at least know the name Garth Brooks or something like that. Like, it's one of those things, like, even if you don't know anything, you probably at least know something. And I feel like Stan Lee was that thing for comics where, yeah, even if you never picked up a comic a day in your life, you never read a comic a day in your life, if someone says the name Stan Lee, you're going to go, that's the guy that made all those comic books, you know, back in the day. That's the guy that pops up in all those Marvel movies. You're going to have some kind of a frame of reference. And Stan Lee was that guy that, when he passed, I don't really know anyone who, like, even people I knew that weren't really into comics, like, they might just be, or they may be casual fans, or they may just be people who just, they like comic book movies, but they just don't really have time to read comics themselves. Like, even those people would be like, dude, like, oh man, I'm so, like, I'm heartbroken, because he was such a, I mean, honestly, he was such a wholesome figure, just because of his mentality, his attitude. He championed a lot of causes, for comics, and he especially the 60s and the 70s, at a time where the comic book industry was, probably its most closed off as it could possibly be. He was that guy who was like, no, I think that the line I always remember from him was, he said, your comic books should always mirror the world that's right outside your door. Like, the types of people that you're going to actually meet in the world, the types of problems and social issues, and just the things that you're going to encounter in the world, that should be what is represented to you when you read these comics. And I mean, you think about it, there's not many, like, think about all the classic Marvel characters, pretty much all of them, Stan Lee had some kind of a hand in. So this guy, completely. He basically shaped a childhood for generations, like, till this very day. Like, I have a 5-year-old and 6-year-old daughter who is in love with Spider-Man. Like, she thinks Spider-Man's like the greatest thing on earth, and it's like, that's generations down the road.
Completely.
Like, it's crazy. It's a wild thing. It's a wild thing to think about, and I couldn't imagine. Yeah, dude, just like, I don't know. Like, I still get a little choked up when I think about it. I remember looking in the paper and, like, seeing this thing, and it was like it was showing all the different characters, like, that he's created, that were I guess kind of eulogizing him, and I was just like, oh my god, it's too much. It's too much.
yeah, it's incredible because besides someone maybe like George Lucas, it's like Stan Lee and George Lucas are the only people that are going to have these characters probably, forever. Like I don't see them dying anytime soon at all in if the next generation, the generation after that, like these characters are so immortal and timeless and classic, and it really is a phenomenon. When I started really thinking about it, I before I started writing Manchild, I read 3 or 4 biographies on Stan Lee and about his life and the history and the origin of Marvel Comics and how all of that went down. And it's crazy to look back and look at how these characters were made and how nothing like that has really been done since, or before that time. And there's nothing, can you even, I thought to myself, it's like, can you even create another Spider-Man,
Right.
in terms of that impact? And it's like it had to be, you had to be there, or else it wasn't gonna be something that we all love and that generations and generations after are going to be obsessed about in so many ways. It's incredible, and it's sort of unfathomable to think of the reach and the scope that these characters have been really ingrained on. People, it's like, yeah, I could, can you imagine a world without these characters? It's not the same world at all.
No.
It'd be completely different.
Well, it was like lightning in a bottle. I mean, literally, it was.
Yeah.
You captured this. You like how insane must it be to be able to create something, to be a part of creating something that is still around, over a half century later. that people are still like clamoring for more of. Like, no one's tired of it. Yeah, they're like, no, we want more. Give us more. And it's like, usually you hang around that long, usually people are like, all right, come on, it's time to wrap it up, man. You got to get it out of here. But no, like, it's to this very day, we still have. We still have, like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Spider-Man's like one of the most like marketable superheroes. Like, in everything. Like, he's like literally like one of the biggest merchandise movers, and this is like over a half century later, or whatever.
Completely. Yeah, it's crazy because people in my generation and our generation are so far removed from that origin point of the 60s and 70s, and it just boggles my mind to think of how relevant those characters still are and how great they still are and how we still gravitate to them, and we still look to them for entertainment and inspiration and all those things. It's and I see why people will say these characters are like a modern mythology, and it's interesting because I think about that and I think, man, I wonder if these characters are going to surpass mythology in a way, because we don't talk about the Greek and Roman gods like we do when it comes to Spider-Man. We don't have Achilles, like socks, or like we don't wear merchandise for Aphrodite and all these gods and goddesses. Yeah. So it's crazy to think that we do that for these characters and how much more that they will outlive us. It's pretty incredible.
Well, they inspire you. Like, they inspire you to be better. They inspire you to once again, they inspire you to dream. I can never like, I was a kid, I always was like, dude, I want to be a superhero. I want to be in that position. I want to be the guy that stands on the rooftop and looks down over the city, and like, I'm the one thing that's standing between the world and utter destruction. Like that was something I was always like, I want to be that guy. And I think as kids, with growing up, we all wanted that. We like it because it made us feel like we had a place. And I also think it's very interesting too. Something you brought up earlier about as we get older, and there's certain expectations. That's one of the things that actually I feel like it's one of those areas where we've taken 2 steps forward, but at the same time we're taking 2 steps back. Is that we kind of got to this point now where like comic book movies are at like an all-time high. Like his comic books are like every time I look up at it, and not even just like Marvel and DC stuff, but like I'm always looking on some website and finding out, oh well, so and so comic book is getting an option to be turned to a TV show. Oh, so and so comic over here is getting turned into a movie. What was it? Why the Last Man? It's becoming a TV show on FX and Hulu. That's how many years in the making. We've had we just had the Suicide Squad movie that just came out the other day, and then we were finding out Sweet Tooth. Like who would have thought Sweet who would have thought that would have been a Netflix TV show? Right. Well, it just like, no one saw that coming. No one saw any of this coming really, and even with that level of acceptance, even with that, I've noticed that there's like more people are willing to go, oh yeah, that's that one thing. Like I've come to find that if you tell somebody, hey, are you gonna go check out that one movie, that TV show, and they're like, I don't know, and you're like, oh, we know it's based on this comic book, and they'll go, But at the same time, you also have people that are like, oh, you're into that stuff. And it's like, it's not what people think it is. Like, comic books, okay, there's capes, there's spandex, there's masks, there's shenanigans. Yeah. We get it. I know it looks stupid sometimes. It can look really silly, but I always try and tell people that there's more than just capes. Yeah. There's more than just superheroes and supervillains fighting for what's right. Sometimes you have comics about a dude that's just trying to get by. Sometimes, like, I read a comic the other day that I honestly, I never probably would have even gave it a second glance had another person not recommended it to me. But it was just this random comic. I think it was called Casual Fling, and it was literally about a woman who cheated on her husband on a business trip and how it backfired spectacularly. And there's not nary a superhero, there's not nary a cape. There is one mask, but that's neither here nor there. But it was one of those comics where I was like, you know what? I was like, this is just incredibly entertaining. But it's telling a human story, and that's the thing I think people don't get anymore when it comes to comics, is that you can get some Shakespearean level storytelling in a comic, regardless of what the genre is. And I think people,
and you can actually understand it.
It's more digestible. It's more digestible for you. And you think about, what was it? For a lot of people, go back to like the Chris Claremont X-Men era. There's people like, I know people whose literal the makeup of their moral fiber was based off Chris Claremont's X-Men. And it's just
that was like their Bible.
Right. It was like, well, it's like, we don't hate people for being different. We're gonna help those even if they don't want to help us. And like but that was a thing. That was the thing. Yeah. And there are people, like, I know people whose entire morality system is based on Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff like that. And the thing is, and even for me, maybe not so much my morals, but like I remember comics were special to me because that's how I learned to read growing up. My mom used to get me show some age here. Back when you could get comics in the mail. I used to get Batman, Superman, The Flash. I would get those comics in the mail, and my mom would sit down with me when I was really little, and we would read through them, and that's how, like, I had learned to read at an earlier age than most of the other kids in my that were in my my class growing up, and it was like, dude, like that was amazing to me, because it not only was I getting to enjoy this amazing thing, but I was also kind of getting to like. I'm learning something. I'm getting something out of it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I wish people put more respect on that, because some of the best storytelling out there is in that medium.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. I can't tell you how many stories I've read that have been from comics that I would, if someone said, what are your favorite stories? I mean, the comic book stories come to mind, not just novels I've read, not just classics, not just movies or films I've seen, but there are actual comic book stories that can, are on par or surpass, some, in my opinion, like some of the greatest stories that most people have probably read, just because they, there's just a sense of wonder and imagination, and the inspiration and the sense of always being your best self, but also even pushing that farther. And it's like oh my gosh, like what does that even look like that potential of someone. And it's like when you read a story, and I mentioned that I'll bring up Spider-Man 3 for some random reason, but like at the end of Spider-Man 3, and we, there's a whole nother conversation with that movie. But I remember when I saw that movie in theaters, and at the end when Peter Parker forgives Harry and Sandman, it's that idea of like forgiveness was like given to me, even more so on a storytelling level, where you see this character that's been through all this and has been wrong so many times, and he still forgives these other people, these people that wish harm on him. And that stays with you as a kid, as you grow up and you think about, people that hurt you or people that bully you, and you think, I'm going to be like Spider-Man. I'm going to forgive them and be a better person than they are, and you see that in so many different stories, and you see how these heroes will overcome maybe the natural human inclination of revenge or vengeance and wanting to get back at someone, and or killing, how like Batman doesn't kill, it's like you could stoop down to that level, but you're better than that. And that's something that I think humanity really is better for, to be reminded of that, because a lot of the time we think, we have all the answers, as individuals, like, yeah, I'm going to do this because this feels right. And it's like, well, now wait a second. Like, I know you have this emotional impulse to get back at that person, but just think about it for a second. Like, do you want to be better than that? Do you want to like have a higher standard? And I think of it, going back to another movie with The Dark Knight Rises, when Bruce Wayne is climbing out of the pit that Bane has put him in, and it goes back to that flashback of his dad saying, why do we fall, Bruce? And it's like to get back up. It's like you got to get back up, and that's I mean, it gives me chills when I think about that sometimes, because it resonates with me so clearly, and I think it is sort of a universal truth that you can take on and really appreciate, and you can adapt it to different parts of your life. And I think it's just incredible what these heroes can do, and how these creators can take these heroes and make them so relevant to what we're dealing with today and throughout the years, and how they're malleable in that way.
Oh yeah, it's you reach that point where some of the like some of the stories that I always reflect on, you bring up like the concept of revenge and whether or not to take a life because someone wronged you. That's what I always tell people. A lot of times revenge stories are my favorites because oftentimes in those revenge stories it's not always about it's not always about getting the revenge. It's whether or not actually getting that is going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to actually change? Like, it's like, okay, well, this person did something to me, and now, I got to get back at him, and I'm in the position I can get back at him. But now that I'm in that position, do I or do I not? Does it make me? Am I a better person for taking that revenge, or am I a lesser person for taking that revenge? Should I just let it go and just forgive, or should I pull the trigger? I always like when comics ask you that moral question.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Like if because it's real easy for us to say, oh well, if I was in that position, this is exactly what I would do. I would do A, B, C, D, E, so on and so forth in that exact precise order, regardless of what the situation is. Like it's kind of like when we watch, always joke with people about scary movies. They'll say, oh, if it was me. No, if it was you, you would be running. And you probably would trip and fall, and you would probably get killed. But no, it's one of those situations I always tell people, ask yourself that, like, if you were legitimately in this particular shoes, like honestly, if I were in that position as Peter Parker, and you literally have the man who is ultimately responsible for your uncle, being killed. You're looking at someone in the eyes, someone who has been like your best friend, but is ultimately responsible for trying to kill you. It's like,
exactly.
What would I do in that situation? It's just like, man, and I know some people say it's old fashioned sometimes, because we also live in a John Wick era. But it's one of those situations where I'm like, sometimes it is nice to know that there is like some universe where there's someone who's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be better, and I think I blame the 90s. I blame the 90s a lot because it was everything was extreme in the 90s. It was like, oh no, we got big guns, big pouches, and big bullets to put in the pouches, and that's kind of where a lot of that really blew up. But and don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for it, and I enjoy it too. But at the same time, it was one of those things where I feel like we hit that point where everyone's like, no, kill the bad guy off, just kill him off. He's terrible. It's like, but if you kill a killer, there's still the same number of killers in the world. And if your mission is to rid the world of killers, who's gonna be? It's like, who watches the Watchmen? Who's gonna kill the killer? Who kills the killer? It's like you fall into that. It's a very tricky tightrope. It's a difficult one to walk, and I don't think everyone's as equipped to do it.
Exactly, and even if those stories just make you think about that is something really powerful, because there's some people that might go throughout their life, or a good portion of their life, and they don't even think about those things, but then they read a story and maybe it makes them recall something that happened to them, or maybe in the future if something happens to them, maybe that might help inform what their decision will be. And it is something to think about, where there is a place where forgiveness can happen, or you can rise above all your failures, and that might just give you that one last push to keep going, or to be a better man or woman or whatever. It's like you can you can look to these heroes for that inspiration. And I think not only do you see that, and then you see just how much those heroes also reflect humanity, and makes you feel better about humanity too, because you're like, maybe we're not all that bad. I know we're bad a lot of the time, but it's like, you know, you think about these writers and creators that helped write these stories, and it's like, man, if that was on their heart to give us this sense of morality, or how we can look at other people that are different than us, it makes you think about, wow, like these creators, they're probably pretty good people, or they're striving to be good people in their own lives, and that can help you think about humanity a little better. You know?
Well, especially in this day and age, we kind of need it.
Exactly. Like heroes are needed, and so, you know, and it makes me think about the golden age, when they would have these heroes for, you know, war for the people in war, and for the soldiers, and how they would make these comics to help and keep them, you know, looking at America and what they're actually fighting for, and it's like, that was such a hellish time in World War II, and in the Depression era, and it's like, we're not in that sense, but in a different way, it's the same reason why we need these characters.
Well, yeah, like I say, you need that. Sometimes, and I know it would probably, for anyone who's not like a, you know, if you're one of those stuffy people that you're like, oh my god, this is kid stuff, you know, whatever. It's like, you know,
have some imagination, please.
Yeah. Well, you know, not even just the imagination part. Like, I actually remember having this conversation with somebody about how, you know, she was like, oh, you know, oh, comics, that's kid stuff. But I was like, but you know what? It gets me through my day. And you know what? I don't complain when you sit up and watch, you know, the 80th season of The Bachelor. Or
that's exactly what I was thinking about. Right. I was like, you know, they're just watching The Bachelor. Like, come on, you know.
It's like you're living and dying by who gets voted off the show. You know, who this guy who's probably not even really a bachelor. You know, whatever. Yeah, it's like we all have that thing that gets us through. And yeah, for some of us, it was sports. For some of us, you know, it was, you know, toys and action figures, and for others it was video games, and for other people it was comics and you know, stuff like that. And I'm like, we all kind of have that thing that you know, that kind of gets us through. And I feel like if you can find that thing. If you can find it, and you can, and that thing in particular is not hurting anybody. I want to make sure I overstate that. I feel like, you know, you're doing all right, and it's funny to it is always been funny to me that, you know, the concept of, you know, being an adult. But at the same time, you know, this medium that I enjoy makes me less of that.
Exactly.
Because just because it's considered to be a kids medium, which I don't really even think comics have been a kids medium for a long time. It's I mean, it kind of is in some regards, but, you know, in some aspects. But for the most part, I've always kind of felt that it, as time went on, it kind of became more of a teenager to young adult to adult, kind of in that, you know, spectrum. I feel like that's kind of where it ultimately wound up going, especially the complexity of comics and the types of stories we see nowadays. Even in like some of like the mainstream comics, most kids aren't going to get half of the stuff.
Completely.
Right over there.
And that's so interesting to think about too. Just how much like comics grew up with its audience, and then at some point, it tried to kind of stay at the teenager level, or maybe a kid hitting puberty and looking at that intelligence level that kid might be at, or the changes they're going through, and how that is where sort of comics ended up staying for a lot of people. And it's that's something that Manchild definitely tries to look at and tries to put a pin on, because that's what Rufus, the main character in the story in the modern day, his name's Rufus, and that's what he is. He's a 30-year-old man who lives in his parents' basement, who plays video games and loves comics, and goes every Wednesday to his comic shop, and that's where he thrives as a person. But he's not seen as an adult. He's seen as a man-child or as a kid, and it's like, is that actually a bad thing? I mean, right. if he's living the life that he wants, like, is that a bad thing? Or is there something about being too obsessed with fantasy that it muddles your reality, that it kind of keeps you from, being a better person, and I think there's a lot of push and pull when it comes to being someone who loves these stories and loves going to the movies every weekend and loves being just absorbed in all this stuff. And where does that end, or where does that begin for some people? And because I've known people who they are afraid to wear a Captain America shirt or a superhero shirt in public, because maybe they won't get that girlfriend, or maybe that girl's going to look at them funny. Yeah, they're going to be judged for what they love. And I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend, and I told her that I was going to be worried that, like, you were going to, like, be embarrassed that I liked certain stuff, or I liked this stuff, and she came back and she was like, I thought you were going to be embarrassed that I liked anime, and it's like, it's crazy that you can still feel that way in this day and age when all this stuff is popular, but you're still worried about how people see you, or how they look at what you enjoy, and how that makes you, less of an adult, or for men, less of a man. Like, like you don't play sports, or you don't do, I mean, I love sports growing up, but, like, I was never very athletic at all. And growing up, I felt like I was less than because I couldn't do those things. And it's like, no, that is not true at all. Like, everyone has their own niches and things that they love, and things that help them go through the day. And I see these sports fans, and they're crazy. Like, they're they're nuts. They always refer to their team like they're a part of the team. They're like, yeah, we won last night, we did. It's like, you weren't even there. Like, you did not do anything. Ownership in it. yeah, it's like, you're nuts. Like, I don't even say that about these characters that I love, but so it's so funny how it's seen as more of a masculine thing to love this, but not as much to love this. And that has just been such a conundrum for me as I've been growing up, and as I've seen other people and kind of been observing other people and how their lives are. And it gets me thinking about just, some areas that I think there needs to be some improvement in how we see people, and how we shouldn't judge them, or look down upon them. I mean, if you do enjoy that superhero movie, go get that superhero comic. Like, who cares what other people think? Like, enjoy it. Like, it's awesome.
Well, and to even go more into with the adult side of it, where your worry of being, like, criticized or judged for enjoying something. Like, I know tons of Rufuses. I know tons of people like to care. Like, honestly, heck, I could even myself, like, the idea of, like, embracing something and
yeah,
I think honestly, I think that is what makes people special is when they embrace the things that they love. Just as some of my friends that are really like super duper into football, which I used to be, on a borderline terrifying level, but but it was one of those things where like the same people that would come to me and be like, oh well yeah so and so ran for blah 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 so many thousands of yards getting so many touchdowns a game and so many minutes. I was like and I remember giving them this look and and then they were like, whoa, what's the matter? You're acting like I'm saying something crazy. I was like, no, I'm just giving you the same look you give me when I say when I say the exact same thing about comics. And it's just like it puts it in perspective, because it's like you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, like I remember what was it? Because I do a lot of tabletop role playing games too, and when people would become like fantasy football time, guys would be like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna pick up this guy and that guy, and because he's got these stats and da 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 da, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, you're literally just playing a tabletop RPG just without the dice. I was like,
that's perfect.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. And when you can kind of boil down people's likes, their hobbies, down to like its most basic form. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all into some nerdy shit, whether we realize it or not.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it just no, and one's not better than the other. Although I enjoy comics better than most things. But no one is better for having enjoyed. I like this one thing, and me liking this one thing makes me better than the rest of you. This isn't Rick and Morty or anything like that. It's but yeah, I wish people. I feel like people should embrace those things. They should throw themselves into those things, and heck, if even for my wife, who granted we kind of knew each other back in high school, so it wasn't like it was some big secret that I was some nerd who was into comics. That was public knowledge, but like it was actually a relief to me knowing that she felt comfortable acknowledging the things that she cared about, things that she didn't normally talk about with other people. That she was like really into Wonder Woman or stuff like that, and like and liking all these different things and enjoying all this different stuff that she normally couldn't talk about. And it's like that, and that's kind of where I feel like if there's any one takeaway from any of this is that if you feel as if you're going to be judged or criticized or called out or made fun of or whatever, for just liking something, then you know what, honestly, just I say bite the bullet. Go ahead and just do the thing anyway, because you know what? The people that would criticize and judge you for something like that, they have something that they truly care about that they're probably insecure about too. And the sooner that they probably see your courage and your ability to embrace those things that you enjoy, maybe they'll embrace theirs too. And maybe if everyone just starts kind of taking everyone else's example and just embracing those things, the world will probably be getting a little bit closer to being a much better place. But that's moral quandaries and
we're getting deep here.
Right. But one thing I do want to say though too is that the idea behind Manchild and what it represents, what it's bringing to the table, is something I think is actually incredibly just sincere. Just the idea of taking that special feeling that I think we all kind of got from the inspiration that was Stan Lee. And not even was, still is. Just because his work has, honestly, it's transcended his own lifespan. But taking that and kind of finding a way to not only tell a story that is reflective of his influence, his life and his influence, but also his effect on other people. And how they respond, to that influence. I think it's something that's actually incredibly cool, and not something that I can imagine I've ever seen or read before. I couldn't say, but
that's awesome.
I think that's actually pretty cool. The fact that you were able to take that and make it a thing. And it's awesome because it's a relatable story. It's a relatable idea that you got this guy who he literally grew up the way a lot of us did.
Completely.
He's doing the same thing that we all are doing.
Like there's it's actually really funny because when I first started promoting Manchild and then sharing artwork from it and everything, I got messages from people I knew, and they would message me and they're like, "Why are you writing a story about me? Like, this isn't fair."
It's like, just at me next time. Damn.
It's like, don't just put me out there like that. And I'm just, it's so crazy because I've had a few people do that, and it made me go, sweet, like I'm doing this right. But also I'm so glad because Rufus is the guy that is always at the comic book store when you're there, and you're like, why does this guy keep coming here? Like, why is he always here? Like, he's here more than I am,
Right. So, it's like, does he work here? And it just
makes you go,
yeah. Wait, he doesn't work here? Wow.
Yeah, right. He's like, he's the volunteer worker that knows more about the shop or knows more about comics than actually the owner or the manager there. And it's so, like, I see those people all the time, and I want, that was a big inspiration for him, is like, I wanted to take a character that, you just see on the streets, and you put him on this life story for him, this moment in time where he has to kind of cope with this, like, celebrate what he loves, but also think about, is this it? Am I just am I the culmination of all these things that I loved as a kid? Am I something more? Am I something? Will I surpass that as a person? And is that okay if I don't? How do people look at me? All those questions are something that I know I've thought about, and other people have thought about, and it's so neat because that's contrasted with this Silver Age story where you're following the superhero fight this supervillain and on his own adventures, and you are taken back and forth on this push and pull of looking at how inspirational and beautiful and amazing and imaginative comics can be, and how that can inform the way you live on your day-to-day basis. And so it's really cool because you'll be reading it, and you're like reading a few pages in the Silver Age story, and then you turn the page and you're back in the modern day, or you're reading modern day pages, and then you turn the page and you're back in the superhero world. And it starts as I was writing it and thinking about it and developing it, it made me go, that's how it is in real life. As someone who loves comics, you wake up in the morning and you go to your job or whatever, and then you get home and maybe you absorb yourself in a comic or a movie, and you're in that world, and then you get taken out of it again, and you're doing your day-to-day life. You're paying the bills, you're doing the dishes, you're doing all these practical stuff, and then you sit down on the couch and you pick up a comic and you're there, you're in it, you're in this world that you couldn't even imagine could exist, and you're rooting for characters and you're loving it. And it was such a interesting idea that I wanted to move forward with, and thought, man, like, and I thought, man, yeah, has this been done before? I always think about that before I start writing something. I'm like, I don't want to do something that other people have done, or, I don't want to, just because I know I won't do it as good too. And I'm like, I want to do my own thing. That's what I want to do. And it's been crazy just to see people's reactions, and how people have come to me and said, whoa, this reminds me of me. And I'm like, oh, I'm not, like, don't sue me. I'm not I'm not taking your life story here, right, buddy. Like, this is everyone. This is all of us. And
it's a universal
truth.
Even
in the description of the character on the Kickstarter page, for Rufus, I have, like, it's a little bit of you, a little bit of me, and a little bit of everything that nerds are afraid of becoming. There's someone that is insecure about what they love, and I wanted to make that plain that I'm in the same boat with everyone here, and they should feel comfortable in that skin and as that person.
Oh no, that's 1,000%. I like I said, it's like literally when I was kind of reading through the synopsis and checking out the main character, I was just like, that's I know that I know that guy. I'm actually pretty sure we've met. I'm almost positive that we met. Before we get out of here, I do want to say I want to make sure we tell people about the a little bit more about the Kickstarter. It's I think as of this recording, which for those a little insider baseball for anyone listening or watching, we're actually recording this on the 8th. So I think as of right now, there's still 24 days to go by this point. By the time this actually goes up, it'll probably be closer to 23 or 22. Still, you still got plenty of time to go check this out on Kickstarter. There will be links. There'll be links in the depending on how you're listening to this, if you're listening to some podcast format, there'll be a link in the description. Also, there will be a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then it'll also be in a pinned comment below. And I do want to say you got like multiple different levels and tiers and stuff that people can pick up. There's actually I pulled it right now because I'm a professional. But you can get the PDF. There's variant covers. Are there like physical copies as well?
Yeah, they're all all the variant covers you can get as physical copies, and a lot of great covers from some really talented artists like Tony Harris, who worked on Starman in the 90s, and he worked with Brian K. Vaughan on Ex Machina, and also Nick Pitaro, who worked with Jonathan Hickman on Manhattan Projects with Image Comics. And there's a lot of great talent that is a part of this book that it feels like a dream come true working with these guys, and working with pro Marvel, DC, and Image artists that were really excited about this project. And I couldn't believe that all of them said yes. I was like, hey, like, how does this sound? Like, what, would you want to even, be associated with this? Would you want to, put your name on this book? And it was just incredible because all of them were so supportive of it and have shared it out and, told their followers about it. And so it's been really awesome. And they've been some of my favorite artists that I've loved growing up, which was also kind of a big reason why I reached out to them, because I felt like it sort of completed the idea of the story of like reaching out to your favorite creators and seeing if they will, be a part of the story about stories and about loving creators and about loving comics in general. If there was ever a comic about comic books, it's like this is that story. And like if there was ever a time to be a fanboy, like this is that time. And that's how I saw it. I was like, I'm gonna be a fanboy right now, and I'm just gonna reach out to my favorite artists and see if I can work with them, because this is the perfect story to do that.
See, this is what I always say, man. Shoot the shot. Shoot the shot, because you never know. I cannot stress this enough. How many times, and anyone who is listening to this or watching this, you all should know by now, how many times we've had guests come on to the show and tell us how they just said, you know what? Screw it, I'm asking.
Yeah.
Or screw it, I'm putting it out there. And the next thing you know, they got exactly what they wanted. And
yeah,
like I said, it just is what it is. You just have to do it. You just have to ask. Closed mouths do not get fed, is something my mother and my grandmother always taught me. So yes, that is awesome though. Just I could not even imagine. I could not even imagine just being like just being, hey, I've read comics that you've drawn, since I was a little kid. Will you draw this comic for me? And they go, well, yeah. And it's like, really?
I know.
Okay.
It's like, no, wait a second. Yeah.
It's like I'm ready to accept the rejection. It's like, oh, okay, well, I just thought I'd ask. Wait, you said yeah? Okay,
yeah. Yeah, like I already had my rejection, typed up already, ready to go. I understand.
I get it. I understand. You're probably incredibly busy. You don't have time.
Yeah.
You do have time. Oh. That changes things. Let me throw this away. Just But
wait a second. Yeah, this changes my whole plan here.
But now once because we got Manchild out here live and active on Kickstarter. Are there any other projects you got coming up that you wanted to plug before we head out?
I'm real quick. I wanted to let everyone know where they can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Foxhole Comics, and that's like my brand. And I have updates on things I'm working on, and I do live streams with my artists, and we talk about the projects we're working on and kind of updating everyone. I'm working on the series called Seasons, which is my first series that I started working on in 2018, and have volumes 1 and 2 out right now, and you can actually get all of my books on the Manchild Kickstarter, which is really cool. So if anyone wants to get everything I've done, there's a bundle. It's called the Foxhole Comics bundle, and they can check that out. But we're going to be working on volume 3 of Seasons really soon. And so if people want to check out what Seasons is all about, you can actually read it for free on WEBTOON. It's a webcomics app that you can download on your phone or on your computer, and just type in Seasons and you can read it for free there. And also you can there's also this app called Macroverse, which is a new digital comics app that you can read Seasons on there for free as well. So that's where, if you're kind of interested, or you can always reach out to me if someone wants like a PDF of one of my books or something. I'm happy to like share that with people. But yeah, I'm going to be working on Manchild. I'm actually writing the final issue of Manchild right now. So I have, it's going to be, it's going to be a 6-issue limited series. And so issues 2, 3, 4, and 5 have already been written and are ready to go. And I'm on the final issue right now. So I've really been investing a lot of time and energy and really been engrossed in these characters in this world for about a year or two now, writing it on and off, and so it's been something that's been a part of my life for a really long time now, and so it's really exciting for me to finally be able to share it with others and to be like, here's what I've been working on for the last year or two, and this is why I haven't been socializing as much, because I've been working on this. This is why you haven't seen me in a year, but yeah, so that's what I got going on.
Oh, dude, awesome. Well, also, just for everyone to know too, I'm also going to make sure to remember to put links down in the, once again, description, pin comment, depending on where you're listening to this or watching this, and make sure you go click on all those links, go check out all those links, go check out the Kickstarter for Manchild. Trust me, if you're a comics fan, all of any magnitude, this is right up your alley, and you'll probably all find a little bit of Rufus inside of you. Yeah, for lack of a better way to put it. Thank you so much again for sitting down and talking with me about Manchild and about comics and all that good stuff.
yeah, this has been awesome. We've covered a lot of good stuff. I love talking about this. So yeah, thank you so much.
Anytime, and don't forget, guys, go check out the YouTube channel. Foxhole Comics.
Yeah, that's it.
Go check it out, and I will see you guys next time. We are out of here. Peace.